Hey guys, how's it going? So with the OnePlus Nord, OnePlus finally made its entrance into the mid-range segment, but the OnePlus 70 still remains the cheapest flagship phone that you can buy. Now I just decided why not compare both the devices against one another and see which device performs better and offers a better value for money. More specifically, the camera department. Well, you've already read the title. This is Varun from Guiding Tech, and today I'll be doing an in-depth camera comparison of the OnePlus Nord with the OnePlus 70. Let's get started. Kicking things off with some daylight HDR shots, and immediately you can tell there's not a lot separating the two. The 70 looks like a sharper and more polished version of it, but honestly, apart from the watermark, both the shots are super identical. The story carries forward in this next shot as well, where apart from a slight saturation to the greens, the overall control of the HDR is the same on both the phones. The 70 consistently produces sharper images though, despite having the same 48 megapixel sensor. This next shot is pretty much the closest two phones can get. Apart from the sharpness advantage of the 70, these are the same shots. Like literally, the same shots. Moving on to some focus on greens, and it is evident that the 70 is boosting the contrast a little bit. The colors are still accurate enough, and the sharpness really makes the image look quite stellar. This next shot of a red flower is a true testament to how great a photo can look by just slightly tweaking the contrast and capturing that raw sharpness. Yes, realistically, the Nord's image is closer to reality, but then again, I am someone who would edit his pics, and I feel I would still go with the 70 shot or at least something closer to that in the end. In this next shot of a yellow bud, you can see that while the Nord blows things up, thanks to the fact that direct sunlight was falling on it, the 70 manages to offer a controlled lighting setup. Now what's super interesting here is that despite the differences, the Nord manages to keep up with the OnePlus 70's performance. This is exceptionally great considering the 70 comes with a flagship 855 processor that also comes with a much better ISP. Obviously due to the fact that there is a 10,000 price difference between them. So yeah, kudos to OnePlus for optimizing the Nord's performance, at least the camera performance, so that it can match with the 70. Moving on to normal and ultra-wide sensors, in this normal shot, you can see that both the phones perform similar to one another, with the 70 slightly offering a more brighter image. Switch to the ultra-wide sensor and well, it's pretty much the same story. However, where the 70 gets the points is in terms of sharpness. The Notch shot is quite hazy while you still get a detailed ultra-wide image from the 70. Interestingly, we experienced similar results when I compared the Nord with the Poco X2, which has a 64MP flagship sensor, which also offers great sharpness in the ultrawide sensor. If you haven't watched that video already, do check it out from the link here or with the link in the description box. Next up, we have full res 48 megapixel shots. Right off the bat, I need to highlight the fact that on the 70, in order to shoot full res images, you need to be on the Pro mode, unlike the Nord that offers a simple toggle in the photo mode. So yeah, let's just focus on the clarity here and leave the colors aside for a bit because you really can't compare software processing and raw images. Now in terms of size, both are 48 megapixel sensors. However, the 70 does make use of some over sharpening that helps the output look a little bit crisper. If you pixel peep, you'll see that sharpness offered by the 70 is way better than that of Nord. Now this is something where the ISP comes and plays a massive role since the 70 can process more details without breaking a sweat. Moving on to human subjects, well, they're both from the house of OnePlus and they both suffer from the reddish tint that we are so used to seeing. The contrast management on the 70 makes the image look a bit better, not to forget the extra sharpness, but apart from that, they're both similar shots. Turn on the portrait mode and the 70 offers better edge detection with an even blurring, while the Nord definitely struggles in that area. Also, thanks to some weird glitch, the Nord just recognizes the tree in the background as part of the subject. Weird, I know, but it's definitely a bug that can be fixed. Now moving on to rear videos.
So I'm recording 1080p 30fps super stable footage on the OnePlus Nord, which is on my left, and the OnePlus 7T, which is on my right. Both the phones have the super stability mode turned on, though walking down the park, I can say that the stabilization on offer with the 70 seems to be much better. It looks like a gimbal's footage, while with Nord you can get slight glimpses of me. You can get the idea that okay, someone is walking. With the 70, things look super stable. I'm just gonna pan the camera around, and While there are some focusing issues on both the devices, frames being skipped while you pan the camera around, it's not a massive difference in terms of HDR. Yeah, I have to say, in terms of stability, OnePlus is like, okay, both are OnePlus, but the 7T is just outperforming the Nord at every way possible. The colors also look much more accurate. The ground that I'm referring to right now it has that reddish color to it. You know how parks have that track. So yeah, you can definitely notice it. One more thing that I have to point out though is that the footage seems more crisp and sharper on the OnePlus Nord. So I think the Nord has that advantage. At first I thought maybe my lens wasn't clean, so I cleaned it twice. So yeah, the lens is clean, but for some reason the footage does not seem that sharp on the OnePlus 7T, while with the OnePlus Nord the footage seems quite sharp. I'm just going to tap and focus if that changes anything. No, OnePlus is winning this in terms of sharpness at least.
Now switching up to the selfie cameras, I think this is one area where the Nord shines. While both the phones output similar results, this time the Nord has an overall sharper image. If you notice the grass, yes, it's a bit over sharpened, but that's only when you pixel peep too hard. For most users, including me, I think I would prefer Nord's shot here. Turning the portrait mode and the Nord maintains the same level of sharpness, while the 70 gets a bit too soft now. Plus the edge detection on the Nord is better too. The extra lens definitely helps. Which reminds me that extra lens is an ultrawide sensor. So not only does it help in some sort of processing for portrait modes, but that ultrawide sensor in itself can be used for taking group selfies, fitting more subjects into one single frame. So yeah, that's a clear added advantage. As for selfie videos,
I'm recording 1080p 30 fps footage selfie from the OnePlus 7T, which is on my right, and the OnePlus Nord, which is on my left. I'm slowly walking down the park and I can see both the phones perform equally good. I think there's not a lot of separation between both the devices. One thing that I have to point out, what I feel is happening right now, is that OnePlus is okay, I have to get this thing over in my head, but yeah, OnePlus Nord is kind of brightening things up, and the greens behind me look a little bit saturated as compared to the OnePlus 7T. It's not a massive difference, but yeah, OnePlus 7T is definitely way more accurate right now in terms of color reproduction. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of stabilization. Actually, there's no stabilization, but yeah, the footage seems crisp on both the phones. Just gonna pan the camera around, and in terms of HDR, they both had power. The edges of the leaves are getting kind of trimmed, but that's to be expected considering this is a selfie camera after all. And yeah, I think both the devices look good. I might just stick with the OnePlus Nord on this one because the footage looks more appealing, but in terms of color accuracy and the overall color reproduction and everything, I think the OnePlus 7T definitely offers the better value here.
Moving on to low light photography, both the phones perform the same. I mean, it's back to how daylight shots work. They are literally just the same. One thing that I do need to highlight though is that the 70 was having some focusing issues, which we'll see better with the night mode enabled. Even after tap to focus, the Nord was able to focus on the main subject, while the 70 just focused on the background for some reason. But again, moving on to landscape images, with OnePlus's nightscape mode turned on, the results are pretty much the same, with the 70 once again offering slightly better details. As for low light selfies, both are pretty bad. The 70 shot has a lot of noise, and while the Nord tries to eliminate it, it only finds itself in a pool of graininess. Now there's no night mode for selfies on offer, but you can use the selfie flash mode if you like shabby results like these. I don't, especially for the fact that I wear glasses, so yeah. So what's the verdict here? Well, it goes without saying that the 70 is a better phone here. But the real competition here was how much of a performance difference and how much of a fight can the Nord give to the 70. And for what it's worth, the Nord, even with its mid-tier processor, manages to give the 70 a run for its money. It produces the same results, well, almost the same, for a difference of 10,000, which is great. In fact, for what it's worth, the OnePlus Nord feels more like the OnePlus 7T Lite. Kind of like how people name their smartphones these days. So yeah, the OnePlus Nord feels like that kind of an experience to me for 10,000 less. In fact, personally, I don't have any issues carrying the Nord in my pocket as my camera phone of choice. Obviously, that is till the Pixel 4a comes out. Anyway, that was it. As always, you can find the download links to all of the full res images taken directly from both the phones in the description box below. We at Guiding Tech never do any sort of sponsored content around reviews or camera comparisons. So what you're seeing is directly my individual analysis of both the images. You can obviously download all the images for yourself, do an analysis of your own, and make sure that you comment down below of what you feel was a better camera phone. I would love to hear from our community. Just make sure that you make valid points rather than saying this one was better or this one was better. Don't get too toxic. I would always love to have a chat with you guys. Anyway, till the next video, this is Varun from Guiding Tech. I'll see you in the next one.